Hello and welcome to this module on to learn how to talk like a pilot. Today you're going to learn how pilots communicate clearly and professionally using aviation radio language, which is essential for safety and confidence in the cockpit. By the end of this module, you'll know the basics of radio phraseology and how to use phonetic alphabet and getting you one step closer to thinking and communicating like a pilot. Clear communication is essential in aviation to ensure safety and efficiency during all operations. Pilots and air traffic controllers use standardized language and procedures to avoid misunderstandings and to keep everyone on the same page, even in busy or stressful situations. That's why it's important to use clear and precise phrases to prevent accidents and keep airspace organized, which is why it's such an important skill for every pilot and to see if it's something that interests you or if it's something that you're good at before you start your training. So one of the tools pilots use to communicate clearly is the ICAO phonetic alphabet. This system standardizes words for each letter on the alphabet so that letters and words are understood even if the radio transmission isn't clear or there is interference or maybe a language barrier. For example, instead of saying B or C, which can sound alike, pilots can say Bravo and Charlie, which don't sound similar at all. This system is used worldwide, ensuring that pilots and controllers understand each other regardless of their native language. Learning to use the phonetic alphabet properly involves clear pronunciation and practice. For instance, the number 3 is pronounced as tree and 9 is pronounced as niner to avoid confusion. Pilots practice spelling out names, call signs, and important words using the phonetic alphabet until it becomes natural. So for example, activities like interactive drills and games can help you build confidence and fluency. For example, when I started before I even started my flight training, I saw that this was going to be something that I needed to learn. So as I was driving by, I would look at a word and I would try to spell it using the phonetic alphabet. So I would recommend you, and you could try right now, to try to say your own name using the phonetic alphabet. For example, in my case, my name's Alejandro, so I would say Alpha Lima, Echo Juliet, Alpha November, Delta Romeo Oscar, right? So you can look up the phonetic alphabet and try to practice, and it's honestly very intuitive onto what each word means, right? Obviously, the first letter is going to be actually what the letter that the word starts off. Like for example, Alpha starts with an A. That's obviously going to be for the letter A. So it's very intuitive, but it takes some time of adjusting to be able to instantly understand what someone's saying if they were just spelling a word phonetically. So I would recommend you give it a try and see how it goes. So in addition of using the phonetic alphabet, pilots use standardized phrases for quick and clear communications. So radio talk is supposed to be short, clear, and professional. Examples of very standardized phrases are clear for takeoff, looking for traffic, traffic in sight. And using this standardized phraseology helps prevent misunderstandings and keeps operations smooth and safe between pilots and air traffic controllers. Another important thing to notice is we don't really take shortcuts, and we want to make sure that the important things are said properly. For example, if someone told me cleared for takeoff, I wouldn't say, okay, I'm good to go. I wouldn't read that. I wouldn't say that, right? I want them to make sure that I understand exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's supposed to be very professional. If ATC were to ask you a question about something, let's say, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 Alpha Bravo, are you able to do this? You wouldn't say, yeah. You would say affirmative, and then you would read your call sign back, right? So it's very professional to keep everything in its place and how it's supposed to be. So now here we're going to take a look at a real-world example of how pilots and controllers would communicate. So this, just to give you an idea, so this is a scenario of a pilot returning back to an airport, and it's getting set up for landing. So then the tower lets him know that there's traffic by saying Cessna 123 Alpha Bravo, traffic 10 o'clock, 2 miles, opposite direction, same altitude, right? So it told you all the information that you need to know about where that traffic is, and your job is to look for that traffic. Now, you're not going to sit in silence until you find it. You're going to let air traffic control know that you're looking for that traffic. So the pilot would say, looking for traffic, 123 Alpha Bravo. So it's not only saying, okay, we're looking for traffic, you're also saying who you are and who's looking for that traffic to make sure that the right person is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Then air traffic control doesn't have to say anything when you're looking for the traffic, as long as they know that you're looking for the traffic. If you don't say anything back, then they don't know if you heard them, right? So that's also a very important thing to understand. Then eventually, when you find the traffic, you would say traffic inside 123 Alpha Bravo. Then tower, apparently in this scenario, right, every scenario is going to be different in terms of the situation that you're in, but it looks like in this case the tower, all they wanted to make sure is that you saw that traffic before they cleared you to land. So as soon as you say that you have that traffic in sight, the tower is going to clear you to land and say 123 Alpha Bravo, clear to land runway 18. Then the pilot reads back everything that he's supposed to. Clear to land runway 18, 123 Alpha Bravo. And so now that's the end of the conversation between the pilot and the tower for this case. So notice how they all use call signs. In every transmission, the tower is saying who they're talking to, and the pilot says who they are, right? It doesn't matter if you have a familiar voice or whatever, you still want to make sure that you're saying who you are to avoid confusion with other planes. Another important thing to note is that, for example, when the tower said clear to land runway 18, the pilot read back the same number. They didn't just say clear to land, because every airport is going to have at least more than one runway, right? Because it goes both ways. So in this case, let's say this airport has 5 different runways. If the plane just reads back clear to land, the tower doesn't know what the pilot is thinking, right? So if the pilot just says clear to land and they don't say what runway they're landing at, and there's other planes around the airport that might be using other runways, then that can be a dangerous situation. So in order to maintain safety, it's important to have clear phrases, good call signs, and understand what is important to read back or not to ensure safety and clarity during operations. So in terms of the structure of radio communication in aviation, pilots have to listen to the frequency before speaking to avoid interrupting others, and they follow structured procedures when making radio calls. Using call signs during communication is essential, as I explained before, so that everyone knows who is speaking and who the message is intended for. Keeping the radio transmission structured, brief, and clear ensures accurate and effective communication, especially in busy airspace. Clear and standardized communication is critical in aviation, right? The ICAO phonetic alphabet helps ensure clarity even with radio interference. Standard phrases make communication fast and precise. Regular practice using the phonetic alphabet and phraseology, as well as listening to real-world examples, will help you become confident and professional in your communication as a future pilot. I feel like, for my personal experience and for what I've seen from most of my students, it can be very scary to talk on the radio. The main thing that you have to understand is that everyone there is there for a reason and for each other's safety. So as long as you get familiar and you're confident, also tower knows that you're human, right? As it's better to make a small mistake, but say the things properly in the correct form, using the correct phraseology. And then obviously part of your training is you're a student, right? You're not expected to talk like an airline pilot. I've seen students all the way until 200 hours have some trouble with their communications, and everyone makes some mistakes. Airline pilots with 10,000 hours will make some mistake on the radio. That's why these standards and these phraseologies exist, in order to, if there is a mistake, someone is going to be there to correct it and say, hey, you read this thing wrong, or you said this wrong, or they'll just read it back to you to make sure you understand it, and things like that. So I know communication can be one of the scariest things. That's why I decided to include it, so you get a brief idea of kind of what it's going to look like in your training, so you get a little bit of a head start. Thank you for joining me on this module on teaching you how to talk like a pilot. Clear professional communication is an essential skill that is very important in this industry, which keeps you, your passengers, and everyone else safe in the sky. This is going to be the last video of the course, so if you have any questions or any other topics that you would like me to cover, please shoot me an email at info@futurewings.space. I've made the course completely free, so any feedback possible would be amazing. And thank you, and I hope the course was helpful to you in any way possible.